Welcome, Wyoming. We are very pleased to be serving as your judges, and we look forward to a wonderful discussion with you. As Carol mentioned, we're going to introduce ourselves, and you introduce yourselves, and then please also introduce the star of the show, and that is your teacher. My name is Tom Tinder, and I am an attorney from Charleston, West Virginia.
I'm Robert Dian. I teach American government at the University of Evansville.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zach Eastburn. I am a lawyer from Madison, Wisconsin.
I'm Bryn Burton.
I'm Isaac Otto.
And I'm Sarah Gonda, and we are Unit 4 from Sheridan High School, and our mentors are Kim Ferguson and Michael Thomas.
Great. We're going to do question number 2 today, and let me read that question to you. Members of Congress are not only legislators, but they are, quote, are also inquisitorial and should meet frequently to inspect the conduct of the public officers, close quote. How effectively do you believe Congress has used its investigatory power? Explain the differences, if any, between Congress's power to investigate and the power of oversight. Which power, in your opinion, is more significant? And how effectively do you believe Congress has used its oversight powers? You may begin.
Article 1, Section 8 establishes the powers of the legislative branch, stating, Congress shall have power to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers and all other powers vested by this Constitution.
Though not clearly stated, the Constitution gives Congress the implied powers of investigation and oversight. In relation to Warren G. Harding's involvement in the Teapot Dome scandal, he claimed, I am not fit for this office and never should have been here.
Congress implemented its investigatory powers to look into all persons involved with the scandal through a series of Senate hearings. Furthermore, Congress also has the implied power of oversight. This means that they have the ability to supervise major government entities as well as the president.
A recent example of congressional oversight was former President Trump's 2 impeachment trials. Though similar, the ability of Congress to investigate and supervise government institutions are vastly different. Our panel believes that the greater of the two is the congressional power to investigate.
Congress's power to investigate not only extends to government scandals, but it also determines policy decisions, looks into major issues facing the United States, and explores the effectiveness of laws.
Moreover, in 1774, James Wilson noted that the members of the Commons were considered to be grand inquisitors of the realm. This legislative authority carried over to the Constitution in Article 1, Section 1, which states the branch was given all legislative powers.
Specifically speaking, the Inspector General Act of 1978 was created to provide a means for keeping the head of the establishment and the Congress informed about problems and deficiencies relating to the administration of such programs and operations.
Moreover, the Consolidation Act of 2000 encouraged further oversight by requiring such a consolidated report that incorporates the agency's program performance and accountability reports.
Nonetheless, regardless of these efforts, the government has done little to ensure the effectiveness of Congress's oversight powers.
Notably, in 2006, in a testimonial report, the electronic surveillance activities that the President authorized under stellar wind, interception of the content of certain communications, and collection of information on communications that occurred virtually undetected by Congress.
Furthermore, the Washington Post illuminates the lack of supremacy of congressional oversight in recent manners, with the Trump administration exerting executive privilege over subpoenaed documents.
A few years prior, President Obama exercised the same disregard for congressional oversight following an investigation into alleged cover-up involving a high-profile Bureau of ATF scandal, also known as Fast and Furious. Case in point, Congress has undoubtedly failed to use its oversight powers to the extent they were intended.
Additionally, James Madison states in Federalist 51, in framing a government, you must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place, oblige it to control itself.
Regarding the investigatory powers, Madison reaffirms the House should possess itself to the fullest information in order to do justice to the country and to public officers. Despite having such an obligation, our panel believes Congress has failed to maintain justice through the insufficient use of these powers.
For example, in Yellen v. United States, the committee had failed in 2 respects to carry out that undertaking. Consequently, the committee lost any testimony they could have received from Yellen.
Likewise, in Christopher v. United States, Justice Murphy declared, we find that the subject of competency, both of the House as a whole and of its committees, has been a matter of careful consideration. As a result, Congress was found incompetent and unable to run a proper investigation.
Moreover, this same inadequacy was shown in Vitarelli v. Seaton, when the upholding reinstatement was declared. Having chosen to proceed against petitioner on security grounds, the Secretary was bound by the regulations, even though petitioner could have been discharged summarily and without cause independently of those regulations.
Clearly, the reversal outlines Congress's failure during the investigatory process. Congress has provided numerous reasons illustrating just how incompetent and ineffective the investigatory powers have been. Justice Van Devanter wrote, "A legislative body cannot legislate wisely or effectively in the absence of information."
We are now ready to take your questions.
Thank you very much, and we have some questions for you. You say that Congress has failed to utilize its oversight powers. What specifically, in your opinion, can be done to ratchet it up and have them use their oversight powers in better ways?
I believe that due to the abundance of agencies that are part of the executive branch, that the legislative branch should create subcommittees in both the House and the Senate to focus solely on investigating and oversight more than just the current committees.
Other ideas?
I would also say that there should be some sort of amendment passed because in the Constitution, specifically when it talks about legislative powers in Article 1, Section 8, it doesn't go into specificity on oversight and investigatory powers. So if there was an amendment passed that specified those powers more, I think the executive branch and the judicial branch would both be held accountable for the oversight attempts that Congress makes.
Can I take the discussion in a different way? My colleague asked what could be done. I'd like to know why Congress has failed to do it. Why have they ended up being so incompetent in exercising their own oversight powers?
Well, I think in cases such as Trump v. Mazars and when you see other times, such as when Obama rejected subpoenas from Congress, a lot of the times the reason why Congress has failed to use its investigatory or oversight powers is because the other branches of government simply ignore those powers or reject them.
Do they have recourse if they're ignored? I mean, aren't there tools at the ready that Congress could bring to bear?
Currently, in the cases of subpoenas, if the president or someone rejects the subpoena, then there is simply a monetary punishment, and they could have other cases such as if it's that bad, the Senate and the House of Representatives could try to impeach the president. However, that has not occurred yet.
Also, in the case of United States versus Nixon, the Supreme Court did actually rule in favor of Congress and said that Nixon had to come out and give the information that Congress was looking for. So there are some cases in which the Supreme Court can step in and rule in favor of Congress.
You guys started off your presentation by noting Article 1, Section 8, Congress shall make all laws. But we have this administrative state that's out there that I understand that Congress is overseeing, but let's look at that fundamental presupposition that the administrative state exists, that there are these agencies in the executive branch that some would say are legislating. Is the administrative state, these agencies, is that a violation of separation of powers?
We believe that the founders created a strong legislative branch to prevent a tyranny such as the monarchy under the British law. But we think that as the executive grows with their agencies, like you said, that are actually acting as legislators instead of just an executive function, that the term legislative supremacy is becoming obsolete as history progresses.
And so how do you think we fix that?
I think that as seen with the Consolidation Act and the Inspector General Act, I believe that more acts such as that need to be passed, which require those executive agencies to report back to Congress more willingly and frequently.
The legislative branch has the power of the purse. How can they or should they utilize that as it relates to oversight and investigative responsibilities?
Well, I think when you're talking about in relation to specifically the executive branch, We see a lot of times with Biden and with Trump both making executive orders where they sort of abuse or they ignore the Congress's power of the purse and they take some of the federal spending. And so I think a way to fix that would be looking at specifically the abuses of the executive branch towards that.
A clear example of this would be the Stellar Wind program, where Congress or the president used taxpayer money to spy on our own American citizens through communications like phone and email. And they did this to prevent terrorism. However, a whistleblower, Edward Snowden, leaked us information to the press, which caused Congress to look into it. However, there wasn't anything done on Congress. So I think that going back to the term where Congress has the power of the purse, I think that they need to check where all their money is going to and create a committee that only looks into where their money and spending is going to.
We haven't talked much about partisanship yet, but where does partisanship come into play here? Are these investigations legitimate or are they driven by party concerns?
I think, as you can see with the McCarthy hearings, they tend to be very partisan. And also in cases such as when Confederates were removed from the Senate too, a lot of the time it tends to be what people think is, or what people are against politically. Specifically in Vitarelli versus Seaton, Vitarelli was removed without any actual evidence against him, just allegations that it was for national security. And so I think that's just one example of how it's completely political sometimes.
And if it is completely political, how might that be addressed or improved?
Well, I think that committees such as bipartisanship committees that look into these investigations would be a good way to resolve this issue, because it's not specifically looking into one political party, but rather the combining of two ideas and ideologies.
Okay.
You know, some might say that one of the checks on that the legislature or legislative branch has on the executive state or the administrative state are confirmation hearings over the appointees of the president. But to the point that was just made about things being partisan, do you think that confirmation hearings, judicial confirmation hearings, anything like that, do you think that they are serving the purpose that they were meant to? And if not, how would you reform them?
I believe that the current confirmation hearings are doing their purpose because, as seen recently with the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett, she was confirmed. President Trump recommended her and she was confirmed, and so it does show that the two branches can work together to come up with a confirmation.
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I was going to say, does anyone disagree that they're effective?
No, I would agree with her actually, especially because the Senate and Congress and the executive branch can be different political parties. They don't have to have the same opinions politically, and so if it really was, I think it kind of takes away issues when you have both of them agreeing on something, because they can have different beliefs and opinions.
Thank you very much. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
I will tell you that the judges very much appreciate that round of applause for us. Like, no, sounds like you got a big crew in there. I'm sure they're all socially distanced. Let us make some comments about it. I thought you did a very good job. You of course went through all the questions and in your initial 4-minute presentation and responded to them all very well, giving us a lot of examples and stuff that we haven't heard yet, going back to McCarthy hearings and Teapot Dome and just wonderful examples. You also gave numerous citations to legal cases, which I hope means that you all are interested in becoming lawyers, because we need smart people like you in the legal profession. Again, I thought you did a very good job in this. You hit all the high spots. And I just want to conclude by saying you definitely have a lot of knowledge and leadership capabilities, and you all are good citizens. And please don't have this we the people competition be some sort of semester activity or school responsibility. But on Tuesday and Wednesday and every day after that, please continue to be good citizens and stay involved and participate, because we need leaders like you in Wyoming and throughout the country. Congratulations to you. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll concur with my colleague. Let me say just from the start that sometimes when we have a team that's all on the same camera and far away from us, we older folks have to strain to hear, but that was not a problem. It was a booming voice in your state, and that was very much appreciated. And you had a lot to say. I also appreciated the examples, the court cases, the pieces of legislation. I thought it was a very effective presentation. You more than most teams probably, in addition to answering the components of the question, you staked out a very clear, strongly worded position and hammered it home all the way through for 4 minutes. You were giving no quarter to Congress. The only thing you didn't use was the word feckless, because they were just really abject and awful. Um, in the question and answer, I think there were a couple times where you really did quite well, and other times where some of the answers might have been a little more meaty. Um, uh, there were broad admonitions to maybe have bipartisan committees or maybe create subcommittees to do oversight. We already have subcommittees to do oversight, and every last one of them is bipartisan. So maybe you could dig a little deeper to get at the question I asked, which is why, given all the many powers that Congress has, why are they underperforming so badly? But gosh, that's a minor quibble on a very strong performance. So hats off to you guys. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to echo, I also agree. I'm glad that I heard this from both of my colleagues, that it is a clear position that's really very hard on Congress, and I'm not for Congress people to be hard on me. So that was great, and I thought it was very clear. It was a good advocate. They're probably the first team, the last game, or really any of them that I've seen that has cited a course that I had heard of in this process was Washington Post. I heard that was a good corporation for the authority and some of the points that they would necessarily go to. So I thought that was a really good, refreshing point to bring up with respect to congressional oversight. I think you guys were also good with answering my question about violations of their powers. You guys took the position that legislative anything might be absolute. Congress could pass a law to try and lessen that back. I think another way you guys could have supported that would be to say, look, we have this judicial branch over here, and executive agency act. Maybe the judiciary should rethink the deference that they give to the agency. That would have been something there. I think whether or not confirmation hearings are serving their purpose, based on your opening statement, you were really hard on Congress. I was kind of expecting something to say, no, confirmation hearings are a circus. It's all political theater, and it's not really doing a good job. So, and with that, you guys were saying, I think there's some fine positions to make. I think I would have liked to have seen a little bit more point counterpoint there, just to the critical and but just to echo whatever I've said so far, I've had a ton of good things from a lot of different issues about American history, from recording to more particular examples. So overall, it was really good.
Thank you.
Thank you.